President Biden and Russian President Putin have begun their talks in Geneva in the highly anticipated summit, which is meant to prevent the two countries from rivalry and going into conflict. President Putin's plane flew in over a quiet Lake Geneva, landing at around 12:27 p.m. He then traveled by motorcade to the venue in which the summit would take place. Biden followed a few minutes later and was greeted by Swiss President Guy Parmelin, and was surrounded by Russian, American and Swiss flags. Both presidents posed briefly for a photo in front of a mansion and shook hands. There was smiles from both leaders as the two quickly vanished inside for their summit. Welcoming his guests, Swiss President said that he hoped that they would both have fruitful and productive dialogues, for the benefit of both their countries and the entire world. Biden and Putin then reappeared together inside the mansion's book-lined library. The Russian president said he had hoped for a productive dialogue. In comments, President Biden had said that he wanted predictable relations with Moscow and to cooperate where the two great powers had mutual interests. Biden appeared relaxed. In what has become a familiar pose, Putin leaned back into his chair, legs sprawled. Aides then evicted a large press pack. The historic summit talks began in 2x2 format, with Biden flanked by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Putin accompanied by his veteran Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Larger U.S.-Russian delegations are scheduled to join later this afternoon. The Geneva talks are likely to last 4 or 5 hours. Ahead of Wednesday's meeting, Biden said he is seeking stable, predictable relations with Russia despite claims that Putin has interfered in American elections, provoked wars with his neighbors, and sought to crush dissent by jailing opposition leaders. Putin brings his own list of grievances to Geneva in his first trip abroad since the outbreak of the coronavirus in 2020. He has expressed anger about U.S. support for Ukraine's government and claims of opposition backing in Russia and neighboring Belarus, as well as the expansion of NATO into Eastern Europe. While the two sides may seek common ground on issues such as nuclear arms control, there are numerous tripwires that could derail the conversation, prompting expectations of a careful summit that both sides attempt to navigate without causing a scandal. One analyst described the upcoming meeting as housekeeping after a long period of paralyzing dysfunction between Russia and the U.S. Wednesday's summit is the first meeting between U.S. and Russian leaders since Putin met Donald Trump in Helsinki in 2018. In a meeting seen as deeply embarrassing for the U.S., Trump appeared to kowtow to Putin by rejecting his own FBI's assessment that Russia had interfered in the 2016 U.S. presidential elections. President Putin says it's not Russia. "I don't see any reason why it would be," he told journalists. An aide later said she had considered faking a medical emergency to end the joint press conference. Biden appears to be taking no chances of a repeat on Wednesday. The two presidents brought senior diplomatic and military advisors to the Villa summit. They include Russia's Chief of General Staff Valery Gerasimov, responsible for developing the doctrine of hybrid war. Hundreds of journalists have flown in for the talks, which shut down much of the city center, including the picturesque coastline of Lake Geneva. Nonetheless, Biden has been under pressure for agreeing to meet Putin without any preconditions, gifting the Russian leader the prestige of a presidential summit with little expectation of any concessions or even progress in the relationship. His advisors reportedly told him not to appear with Putin after the talks,